Today we're going to learn how to make a centered zipper. A centered zipper, you can see the zipper top of the pull tab, and you can see the zipper teeth, and then the fabric is folded just on either side of the zipper. It's probably the most common type of zipper that you'll see in things like dresses and skirts. So the first thing you need to do before you start putting your zipper is to finish the raw edges of your fabric, because it's a lot easier to do now than after you've put in the zipper. Once I've finished the raw edges of my fabric, and note they're finished separately, that's really important, I'm going to pin the raw edges of my fabric together just like I would if I were sewing any other seam. And you'll note that I'm pinning them perpendicular rather than parallel to my fabric. Some patterns, like if this were the back center seam of a skirt, might have a marking telling you where to stop your zipper. If you don't, then you just match the raw edge of your zipper with the top. Most zippers are designed with this being 1.5 centimeters from there to there. And then I'm going to note where my stop is right here. And then you can either mark it, or in my case, I am going to put my pin in the opposite direction so I know where it's going. Okay, so I know where to stop. I'll move my zipper to the side and get my sewing machine up. And I'm going to set my sewing machine originally for a basting stitch. There we go. Let's just attach that so you guys can see really well. So I'm going to set my machine for a basting stitch, and I'm going to baste, if I move this here, from the very top to where my zipper is. And I'm going to sew with a 1.5 centimeter seam allowance, because most zippers are designed to be 1.5 centimeters wide. Because I'm basting here, I do not need to backstitch. There we go, thread's just caught, so let's pull that out of the way. There we go. And when I get to where my pin is, I'm going to set my stitch length back to 2.5. I'm going to back stitch now, so a few stitches forward, a few stitches back, and then you're going to complete the rest of your seam. So as you can probably imagine, the stuff at the top, the basting at the top, is where your zipper is going to go. So if I adjust this back here to the center of my machine, what you would do next is go to the iron and press your seam open and flat. And it's really important to press it open and flat. I'm just going to finger press it now for the purposes of our sample. Okay? And the more flat it is now, the easier it is to open your zipper. So there's my seam, open and flat, like so. So starting from the very top, I'm going to take my zipper, and this pull tab is the right side of your zipper. And if you think about all of your sewing, you always put right sides touching each other. So there's the right side of my fabric, here's the right side of my zipper, and they're going to go face down like this. You can use pins. There's special tape for gluing, but I'm going to use pins for this. And I'm going to pin this down. As I pin it down, I just fold this up a little bit so I can make sure that this runs right along the seam. If it doesn't run right along the well of the seam, then once you've finished it, you kind of can't get into your zipper. So right along the well of the seam, like so. I put some pins here. There we go. And then put some pins in the other side. Now, depending on the type of zipper tape that you have, some zipper tapes, if I go really, really close, you can see that it looks a little bit different, sort of in the middle of the zipper tape. And you can use that as a guideline when you're sewing. If it doesn't, then you just have to make an educated guess. The next thing that I need to do to sew a zipper is to actually switch my feet and put on a zipper foot. There are two types of zipper feet that go with this sewing machine. This is the standard zipper foot, which is E, and this is the narrow zipper foot. So I'll show one side with the standard zipper foot and one side with the narrow zipper foot, and you can decide which foot you want to use. So to remember to change my feet, all I do, push it towards me, and I put my foot in the back of my machine so that I don't lose it. A zipper foot is designed for you to use half the foot. So since I'm going to be sewing this side first, I only want half my foot, because see, if my foot was covered here, you can't sew anywhere. So I'm going to use half my foot, like that. And you can see now how you can sew down the center. I'm going to turn my needle. I'm going to put my needle down, lower my foot pedal, and sew like I would sew any other seam. So because now I'm sewing fabric together, I want to back stitch at the beginning and the end. And this is why sometimes the narrow zipper foot's better, because you can see when I go by here, sometimes it's big and bulky. And so that's why I'll show you the narrow zipper foot on the other side, and you may want to try that foot for your machine when you're sewing a zipper. So I'm going to sew all the way to the end, and I'm going to stop right at that stop right here. And just like you normally would, you're going to back stitch and then cut your thread, and then we're going to do the other side. Let's just cut this thread here. And so now I'm going to switch to the narrow zipper foot, so you can see what the narrow zipper foot looks like. And just like the other foot, you're going to put half on. So I'll sew like this. So that means it looks like a big ski pole. So I'm going to push this to the back like that. And then just like your other one, you can sew half of it. But you can see that it's a slightly narrower foot. So you may find that one easier for sewing. On my foot pedal. Take this out of the lines a little bit. And I'm just going to sew and back stitch. And I find with this one I have a little more control over my zipper, my pull tab, and at the end. But it's a personal choice. Some people like some zipper feet, other people like others. Now some instructions will have you sew across here, and that's fine. You just cannot sew over this metal stop, otherwise it will break your needle. But the coils of zippers are made out of nylon. You can sew over them. So here's my zipper on this side. I'm just going to move this down so you can see. And then all I would do at this point is take my seam ripper and very carefully unpick my basting. And as I unpick my basting, you will see the zipper showing. So just be very careful that you don't cut your fabric. You only cut your basting. And take a second to pull out these basting threads, because they will get caught in your zipper otherwise. And you'll notice I'm pulling my unpicker up, not down, so I don't accidentally cut any of my fabric, because remember that your seam rippers or unpickers are really, really sharp, and they can easily cut your fabric. And then you're just going to look for where your basting ends, which is sort of right at the bottom here. Perfect. And then, if it's done properly, you now have a working zipper. Okay? So I would take a second to pull out these basting threads here so they don't show. You can see that your teeth show a little bit, but your zipper is centered in your fabric. And that is how you make a centered zipper.